I'm 18 now, and horror's always been my thing. True crime podcasts, documentaries, haunted houses, you name it. My friends joke I'm impossible to scare. Still, 2 years ago when I was 16, something happened that keeps crawling back into my head. It still gives me chills. I live in a tiny village, 20, maybe 30 houses, maybe 200 people in total, out in the middle of nowhere, fields and woods in every direction. The nearest proper town is where my cousin lives. We're the same age and hang out all the time. The walk between our places is usually 30 minutes if you take the main road, but there's a shortcut through the woods that trims it to 20. So of course I take it when I can. The shortcut starts peaceful. A dirt track, a small bridge, a little clearing with the bench where people sometimes stop. After that, the path goes on straight, boxed in by massive hedges that rise up on either side. In daylight, it's fine. At night, the hedges swallow the moonlight and turn the trail into a dark tunnel. That's the part that creeps people out. It was somewhere in the second or third week of January, the first time I'd gone to see my cousin since the holidays ended, and I left stupidly late around 9. I remember exactly what I wore because it mattered later. Gray sweatpants, my favorite black hoodie, and a heavy winter coat my mom gave me for Christmas. I've been feeling lazy all break, eating junk and avoiding anything that looked like exercise, so I decided to do something dumb and get back into shape. I ran the whole way, big mistake. Running in a heavy coat is like wearing a sauna. 10 minutes in, I was regretting the plan. Lungs burning and drenched in sweat. By the time I reached the clearing with the bench, I was gagging for air. I stripped off the hoodie, tied it around my waist, and stood there trying to breathe. Up until that moment, I'd had music in my ears, earbuds to keep me moving. When I yanked the hoodie off, I took the earbuds out so they wouldn't tangle. Suddenly silence for the first time. All run just the quiet and my breathing. That's when the sound happened. A faint rustling from the hedges to my right, the bushes by the bench at first. I told myself it was a fox or a cat. But when I looked, my stomach dropped. Someone was crouched in the hedge. I couldn't see their face. The darkness swallowed it. But the silhouette was there. Completely still, the pose was what froze me. Both arms raised at the sides of their head, fingers splayed like claws, like a kid making a monster face. Except every inch of it felt deliberate and wrong. They weren't moving, they were just watching. Time dilated 3 seconds, felt like forever. My brain stalled, then flipped the switch to autopilot. I grabbed my hoodie, didn't bother to put it on right, and sprinted faster than I'd ever run. I didn't look back. I didn't slow down until I reached my cousin's house. I was shaken when I told them. You could see it on me. They offered to walk me home, but I refused, didn't want them trudging back the long way. Instead, we compromised. They'd walk me to the edge of their village, and then stay on the phone while I walked the rest of the way. At least, I wouldn't be alone. From their place toward mine. The first landmark is a small park at the entrance to the village. That's where they planned to stop. We walked together through empty streets. Everything looked normal. No one else was out. The park was deserted. I started home with the phone pressed to my ear, my voice small, scanning the hedges, the path, every shadow. I was still keyed up from the bench. Halfway along, I felt eyes on my back. When I glanced over my shoulder, there was someone walking behind me following the same line of path. Panic hit again. I asked my cousin, "Are you behind me? Did you walk after I left?" They said no. I asked if anyone else had passed them. No. I started running again, heart thudding like the drum. I kept going until I hit the first street light on my route, the first patch of real light in a while. I stopped beneath the lamp, slumped against the post, breath rasping. I turned to look back down the dark trail. Whoever had been walking behind me was gone, vanished into the hedges like a bad dream. A twist made the night worse. After I told my cousin what I'd seen, they remembered something. A few months ago, my cousin and a friend were walking that same park late one night and saw a guy sitting alone on the tire swing, just sitting at 11 at night. No one else around. The memory fits easily with my own. Since then, I never walked that path slow at night. If I have to go after dark, I run the whole way, no stopping, no pulling over to catch my breath. It's a paranoid, stupid routine, but it's better than wondering whether someone is crouched in the bushes, fingers spread like claws, watching you pass. 2 years on, it still sneaks back into my head. I replay that silhouette, the stillness, the hands like an imitation of something feral. Who was it? A prank? A creeper? Something else? I have no idea around here. Strange things happen a lot. Little oddities, people who don't belong. But that night sits on top of them all. Nothing else has made my chest go tight the way those 3 seconds did. I can handle creepy documentaries and haunted houses. But that moment was different. It felt real focused and intentionally quiet. And that's what I can't shake. It's been 4 years now, but this memory still sends shivers down my spine. Every time it resurfaces back then. My family and I traveled out to Napa Valley for my cousin's wedding. The place looked like something out of a movie. Rolling hills blanketed in vineyards. An old estate turned into a wedding venue. Even a massive barn renovated for the reception. String lights draped across the ceiling. Rustic tables spread out everywhere. It was picture perfect. I spent most of that evening drifting between the open bar and the dance floor. A few glasses of wine, a couple of beers, enough to leave me with a warm buzz. Not enough to stumble around 10 o'clock. Maybe closer to 10:30, the music was pumping. People were sweating and laughing and losing themselves on the dance floor. My girlfriend Sarah tugged at my arm and said we should step outside for some air. That's how it started. We left the glow and noise of the barn and stepped into the cool, quiet night. The estate stretched on for hundreds of acres. Most of it we hadn't seen. Maybe we wanted some alone time. Maybe it was just curiosity mixed with the fog of alcohol. Either way, we found ourselves wandering farther and farther away from the safety of the reception. The road we followed wasn't suburban or familiar. It was a country road, the kind that runs between walls of trees and endless dark fields. No streetlights, no nearby neighbors, just bushland on either side, and a suffocating kind of darkness you only get when you're far away from town. At first it was kind of romantic. The bass from the DJ thudded faintly behind us, laughter occasionally floating through the trees. But within minutes, the sounds faded, leaving just our footsteps and the rustle of leaves in the wind. That's when the unease crept in, the sensation of being watched, of not being as alone as you thought. And then we saw it up ahead, hanging high in the trees, maybe 30 or 40 feet up, a strange white glow. It wasn't shaped like a lamp. It wasn't the glow of a house window. It was just suspended light hovering wrong. Sarah froze. What the hell is that doing out here? Her voice carried a nervous edge. I tried to make a joke of it, half laughing, and maybe aliens decided to crash the wedding. But my attempt at humor only made her glare at me. Inside, I wasn't laughing either. My stomach had already tightened into a knot. The glow seemed closer the more we walked. That's when the crunch came sharp, deliberate from the trees to our left. Dry leaves snapping twigs, breaking the sound of someone pacing us. I stole a glance, trying not to be obvious. My blood ran cold. 2 figures deep in the shadows, dressed in dark hoodies, 15, maybe 20 feet inside the tree line, but definitely moving in sync with us. I could only see their silhouettes against the faint night sky, but it was enough. They weren't big, not hulking lean, average builds, and that was somehow worse. This wasn't random wandering. They were calculated, measured, keeping just the right distance to stay hidden while shadowing us. My buzz evaporated instantly. Every nerve in my body screamed danger. I forced myself to keep walking, pretending like I hadn't seen them. I kept my voice calm and light, carrying on with Sarah like nothing was wrong. Though my heart hammered in my chest, I leaned toward her and as casually as I could said, "Hey, we should probably head back. I think speeches are starting soon." She nodded, saying she was cold anyway. Perfect cover, we pivoted. And the second we did, I caught it. Those hooded figures turning as well, matching our movement, still pacing us in the shadows. That was the moment I truly understood how surreal the whole thing was. Out there, the night was dead silent. Crickets, cicadas, nothing else. No reason for 2 strangers to be in the woods at the exact same time, moving exactly with us. We hadn't seen any parked cars, no houses lit nearby, no driveways leading into that dark stretch of road. Whoever they were, they hadn't just appeared out of thin air. But where did they come from, and why were they there? Halfway back, Sarah grew stiff beside me. She started to whisper, "Hey, do you see the eye?" Cut her off quickly, raising my voice in exaggerated conversation, almost too loud. "Man, I bet they already started the best man speech. We're missing all the embarrassing stories." I wasn't trying to reassure her. I was trying to send a message. If those men thought we were expected back, that people were waiting on us, maybe they'd back off, and it worked. The figures melted back into the darkness, step by step. As the wedding lights came into view and the music grew louder, they seemed to dissolve into the trees, until there was nothing left but shadows. The moment we crossed back into the barn, warmth and noise swallowing us again, I nearly collapsed, every drop of adrenaline drained out, leaving me shaky and hollow. Sarah looked rattled too, though neither of us said much. We just stood there for a long minute, absorbing the sight of people dancing and laughing, pretending nothing had happened. Even now, 4 years later, I wonder what we walked away from that night, what those hooded figures were doing out there in the dark, whether they were leading us toward that strange light, waiting for us to step far enough into isolation. I'll never know, and maybe that's the scariest part.